I know that your parents don't. They don't care. Put it in the vibe. I'll be outside. I'll be on the way. And nothing feels better than this. Nothing feels better.
Under the still modest spotlight of the American music industry, an unexpected voice rose and changed everything. In 2016, a teenager from Texas, unknown to the general public, uploaded a song to the internet almost as a game. Its title, Location. No one suspected it yet, but that track would not only transform his life, it would also become a generational anthem. That teenager was Khalid. At that time, the pop scene was emerging from a decade dominated by upbeat electronic party anthems. The public, oversaturated with flashy artificial hooks, began craving something else: sincerity, intimacy, music that spoke more to the heart than to the dance floor. That was the exact space Khalid stepped into. His deep, soothing, almost husky voice stood in sharp contrast to what was dominating radio. In Location, he didn't shout his emotions. He whispered them with restraint. Each syllable seemed to float in the air, fragile yet hypnotically intense. A simple, gentle track, but strangely addictive. The public caught on quickly. Fresh out of high school, Khalid signed with RCA Records and rode a wave of viral buzz. Within weeks, Location passed 1 million streams, then climbed the charts until it reached number 16 on the Billboard Hot 100. Very quickly, the track was certified diamond, over 10 million sales, an extremely rare feat for a debut single. From then on, the name Khalid was everywhere. Not because of image, he avoided scandal and overexposure, but because of his music. In teenagers' bedrooms, young adults' cars, and playlists all over the world, his voice settled in as something obvious and essential. In 2017, Khalid confirmed his breakthrough with his first album, American Teen. At only 19 years old, he established himself as the voice of a generation searching for authenticity. The album didn't reinvent sound, but it captured the mood of the times perfectly. Gentle, accessible melodies, lyrics about dreams, disappointments, and carefree youth. The single Young, Dumb, and Broke, produced by Joel Little, became a universal anthem, sung in high school halls, chanted by festival crowds.
Young, dumb, young, dumb, and broke. Young, dumb, young.
It, too, earned diamond certification. Within months, Khalid was being compared to artists like Frank Ocean and Lorde. His music, more accessible, still carried a minimalist, genuine quality that was uniquely his. He was described as an atmosphere artist, the voice you hear on a summer night drive or in the background of a gathering, a comforting presence far from the noise of overproduced hits. This explosive start naturally led to collaborations. The distinct character of his voice quickly attracted producers and established artists. Marshmello invited him on Silence, Normani on Love Lies. Each collaboration widened his audience and confirmed one thing. In a very short time, Khalid had gone from an unknown teenager to an essential voice of global pop. After conquering the world with Location and American Teen, Khalid entered a new dimension. His instantly recognizable voice became one of the most sought after in the industry. In just a few months, he stacked up collaborations and hits. Shawn Mendes brought him on Youth. Lorde included him on the Homemade Dynamite remix, and Billie Eilish, still rising at the time, joined him on Lovely, which became an instant classic. This flood of features boosted his profile even further, so much that many wondered if he risked being overshadowed by others. Khalid answered that question in October 2018 with Sun City, an EP led by the single Better. The track immediately resonated and landed in the US Top 10, proof he could shine solo too.
Nothing feels better than this. Nothing feels better.
Yet, beyond that one hit, the project remained fairly quiet and failed to leave a deep mark. For many, Khalid was still the perfect playlist artist, but not yet a creator of landmark albums. In April 2019, Khalid crossed a decisive threshold. He released Free Spirit, his second album, carried by the single Talk, produced by Disclosure. The track, polished and radio-ready, became an instant success.
Can we just talk? Can we just talk?
The album debuted at #1 in the US, his first chart-topping record. At only 21, Khalid reached the summit of global pop. For a moment, he was even the most streamed artist on Spotify, surpassing Ariana Grande. The young singer then embarked on international tours, collected certifications, and broke records. In less than 3 years, he had gone from unknown teenager to worldwide star. Yet behind this meteoric rise, cracks began to show. Some critics found his music too smooth, too safe. They pointed to a lack of risk-taking, a sense of musical comfort zone. Online, one phrase popped up repeatedly: industry plant. In other words, an artist pushed too quickly by major labels to be entirely credible. These accusations, debatable as they were, gained traction. He was accused of being generic, incapable of reinventing himself, destined to remain just a pleasant background voice without real depth. On the surface, Khalid seemed untouchable. Between 2016 and 2019, he was everywhere, on radio, at festivals, in the biggest collaborations. But what rises quickly often falls just as fast, and without realizing it, a new, more uncertain chapter was waiting for him, one that would test his artistic identity. In 2020, the pandemic disrupted the world. Tours stopped. Artists were forced to reinvent themselves, and for Khalid, the pause was revealing. Behind the numbers and the hits, a question loomed. Who is Khalid really? A mainstream pop star? An intimate R&B singer? Or just a comfortable voice for playlists? That ambiguity, which had helped him win people over at first, began to cost him. In 2021, he attempted a turn with Scenic Drive, a darker, more experimental mixtape leaning toward R&B. Some tracks, like Voicemail with Kiana Lede, revealed a more personal, vulnerable Khalid, but the impact was limited. Promotion was quiet, media attention scarce. A few critics praised his sincerity, but the public didn't really follow. In an oversaturated industry, a good project wasn't enough without momentum. Then came the long wait. 5 years separated Free Spirit from his true third album. When Sincere finally dropped in August 2024, expectations were sky high. Khalid presented it as a rebirth, a reclaiming. When I started, I was 17. I didn't really have a sense of myself. Today, this album feels like starting over artistically. The effort was clear, more mature, introspective, polished. But commercially, it was a disappointment. Sincere only reached number 43 on the Billboard 200. None of its singles caught on, and many listeners admitted they didn't even know the album had been released. For an artist who once ruled the charts, it was a brutal blow. At that point, criticism intensified. His voice, once praised for its uniqueness, was now sometimes dismissed as monotonous. His trademark cursive singing, that trailing, slurred style, had started to annoy some listeners. Khalid, once hailed as the promise of a generation, looked like an artist losing momentum. Then, at the end of 2024, a scandal broke. An ex-partner shared intimate details and accusations on social media. Khalid was outed publicly. The shock was harsh, but his response surprised many. Instead of retreating, he owned it. I'm gay, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not ashamed of who I am. Calmly, he dismissed the more serious claims and refused to play into sensationalism. That dignified stance earned him respect from many fans, though it didn't revive interest in his music. His later collaborations with Normani, Chloe, even Era Star went largely unnoticed. The spotlight on his private life didn't translate into commercial success. Khalid remained stuck with the same label, a playlist star, enjoyable but incapable of creating real cultural moments. But in 2025, he decided to change the narrative. With dyed blue hair, brighter imagery, and more playful videos, Khalid aimed to shed the too-safe image that had clung to him. His single In Plain Sight sounded like a statement. More rhythmic, more daring. It came with a music video where Khalid smashes through glass, symbolizing the crystal closet some believed he had been living in. "I wasn't hidden. I was right there, in plain sight," he declared. This track sets the stage for his fourth album, After the Sun Goes Down, slated for October 2025. More upbeat, more colorful, it's clearly intended as a rebirth, a bid to win back the mainstream. At 27, Khalid stands at a crossroads. He has experienced global fame, harsh criticism, doubt, and even scandal. Now, he wants to prove he can still surprise, that he's not destined to fade into the background. The question remains, will this new era truly mark a rebirth, or will Khalid remain a background singer, liked but never central? One thing is certain, his early hits, From Location to Talk, will continue to soundtrack an entire generation, a reminder of the time when his voice seemed to float everywhere, subtle but unforgettable. The future now depends on whether he can reignite that spark,